Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of History Quest. I'm your host Brian, and today we are literally right down the road in Litchfield at the Meeker County GAR Hall and Historical Society. I'm here with Danelle Erickson, the Executive Director of the Historical Society here in Meeker County. Danelle, how are you doing today?
Pretty good, thanks.
Good?
For coming.
Yeah? What can you tell us about the GAR Hall and the Historical Society?
Yeah, absolutely. So I kind of think of our facility as kind of two museums in one in a way. We've got the historic 1885 GAR Hall, which is the Grand Army of the Republic. The Grand Army of the Republic was built, it was a Civil War, kind of like the Civil War version of the American Legion, VFW.
Okay.
So this would have been, where they would have had their meetings and hung out. So like I said, this was built in 1885. And then the second half of the museum was built on in the 60s, and that's more, covers all of Meeker County history.
Okay. These GAR halls like this, I know a few people are wondering this, or at least I am. So did every community have a GAR hall?
Not everyone, but a lot. I mean, it was a national organization. There were thousands of posts all across the country, and this was actually the first post in Minnesota to have their own building, build their own building, and there's really only one other building in Minnesota still standing. So it's kind of the first and one of the last, so definitely a special place.
Cool, that was my next question, so yeah, perfect. Well, can you show us around a little bit?
Absolutely. The GAR Hall part, this was called the anteroom. We actually have on the windows up there, we've got the anteroom and then the library. So when this was first built, there was originally a wall that divided these two spaces and was kind of one of the first library spaces in Litchfield. At some point that was taken down. We've got these books behind us, and actually this case is full of some of the original library books. You can still see the numbers and things on the spines there. And then here on the other side of the anteroom, we've got obviously a lot of Civil War artifacts and things. And like I said, so this first half of the museum is very Civil War focused. And yeah, some different artifacts that have kind of been donated sometimes from the members that used to be in this room, others from family members or Civil War enthusiasts from near and far. And now we're in the official meeting room. So this is where the GAR Civil War soldiers would have had their meetings, and also this was kind of one of the bigger meeting spaces in Litchfield at the time too. So the newspaper is full of different mentions of different parties and programs and things beyond the GAR members too. So a lot happened in this space. The chairs are actually original to the building here, so it's kind of fun, especially we get different school tours and things to be able to tell the third graders that they're sitting on a chair that a Civil War veteran sat on and see their eyes light up and things. So at first glance the chairs maybe all look to be identical, but they're all a little different. The story goes that when they opened this building they needed furniture, so they told all the veterans, everybody go home and bring a chair back. So at some point they were painted similar colors, and so we still use them today. The other thing that's kind of hard to avoid is the chandelier in this space. That is original to the building as well, kind of one of the last things that was added in here. So it was ordered from a factory out east and cost $125. It was originally kerosene, and the story again with that is if it wasn't too cold of a winter, the kerosene lamps would put out enough heat that they didn't necessarily have to light up the fireplace. And then also, obviously, we've got some of our members on the wall here. We've got about 50 portraits on the walls. There was at least 250 or more members throughout the years, but some of their portraits and their biographies, a little bit about each of them. And it's kind of just, I think it's a neat way to kind of glance through them even and just to see all the different backgrounds. We've got, people from Germany and Switzerland and Pennsylvania and New York, and just how they all ended up here in Litchfield and Meeker County. So it's just kind of a neat snapshot of the population at the time as well. And one of the members here, the GAR, was Albert Van Spence, and he was quite, I think, kind of a character, a pretty popular Post member, and he was born in the South into slavery, and at some point managed to escape from that and join the Union Army, and then after spent some time in Wisconsin, and then made his way here to Litchfield, where he worked on the brick farm, but then also he worked at the courthouse, and he was the lamplighter. We've got one of the old street lights here, and he was also very musical, and he was also known for his barbecue. So we actually have a picture of him that he's roasting an ox. And another that somebody wanted to know how to roast a possum. They're like, well, ask Van Spence, he'll know what to do. So quite the popular man in the area. All right, and moving on, we've got our little kind of mock-up of the Forest City Stockade, which is all part of the U.S. Dakota War of 1862, which started in Meeker County. And the stockade was a big part of that. That was kind of built basically overnight for the settlers to have a spot to go for the protection and the uncertainty and everything that was going on between the settlers and with the Dakota and everything that summer. And so like I said, this is kind of a mock-up, but if you haven't been to the Forest City Stockade, that is a definite another spot to see in Meeker County. The third weekend in August is their big weekend, so make sure you check it out if you're looking for something in the summer to do. So behind me here, kind of this document is actually, might be the reason why this building is still here, actually. That was, as soon as they finished building this, the veterans knew they weren't going to live for forever, so they immediately deeded the building to the city or village of Litchfield at the time. So kind of once we're done with it, the city is going to maintain it forever as a memorial to the Civil War soldiers. So really, I mean, that's the main reason why this building is still here today. So now we've stepped into the second half of the museum. So this is more kind of Meeker County focused. So we've got a lot of our old newspapers and other documents for people researching family history, and then a lot of history as we keep working through. All right, behind me here we've got a bit of a dairy display. Obviously, dairy is a big part of agriculture in the area, and so we've got the different creameries and butter churns and all that good stuff. And then also Land O'Lakes actually got its start here in Meeker County. So we talk a little bit about Land O'Lakes as well, and I mean it's still a big part of the agriculture in the area as well. All right, and then, we can just kind of work our way along here, just the different displays and, try to show different areas of life. The small town bands, I mean, every village community seemed to have their own band, and they'd perform for just about anything, business openings, and somebody was heading off on the train, they'd call the band, so very big thing in the area as well. And then we can't be in this space and not talk about the cabin. So this is the Samstead cabin. This was moved in here in the 60s, log by log. You can actually still see the markings on so they could put it back together. It was built in the 1860s, and the family lived. There was a few different families that lived in it. Samstead was the last family and the family that donated it, so we call it the Samstead family. And we actually can step inside the cabin and see some of the things that the Samstead family used as well. So here I am inside the cabin, and we've got, like I said, the cabin was a little taller. They had a sleeping loft above, and it was a little longer that way. But for the most part, kind of what you see is what you get here in the cabin. It would have been tight in here. The family had 13 children. They would have been spread out over the years. But if everybody was home for the weekend, it'd be a little tight. But they saved space where they could. We've got the kind of a fold-out bed, kind of like a Murphy bed that was original from the family, and a few other benches and things. We've got the high chairs and all the different some family things, and just kind of have it set up as a little cabin display here. And we've got, obviously the Dakota and Native American in the area were a big part of the history as well. So we've got a little bit of that. Some of the clothing is reproduction, but still kind of, shows some of the idea, and some of the beadwork and some of the original pieces is definitely interesting and very detailed to look at. Different pot shards. We've been told that it's pretty rare to have a almost complete jar there, or ceramic pot. And some different tools and things as well. So this is kind of some newer archaeology. This was about 20 years or so ago that a field in Meeker County here, a farmer started finding all of these things in his field and came to realize that it was a sod fort that used to be on his farm. So we've got the entire door from a stove in there, and there's a shield that used to probably on a trunk of somebody that was one of the soldiers there, but then he actually was also a GAR member here years later. So just kind of fun to see, and this is just I guess a small portion of what's been dug up out of the field. And we are now upstairs in the museum. We've got my friend here in the witness box from the courthouse. We kind of ask people what they think her story is. Is she the grieving widow, or does she have something to hide? So you can tell us what you think. We've got a trunk here from one of our actresses in the area. She spent a little time in Broadway in New York, so this would have been her trunk that she would have traveled with. So that's kind of a fun thing. And then a lot of pioneers behind me, some very serious faces. But so yeah, just fun to be able to see some of the people that settled the area originally. And we have people in, again, that, oh, my grandpa's upstairs, or oh, that's my grandma or great grandma. So always fun to see people connecting with the pictures and things up here. So stepping over here to our kind of handicraft area, if you will, our gigantic loom, 1877 loom, and different, for textiles and yarn. We've got some, a few quilts on display here, and our life-saving spinning wheel, which is always a fun story to tell. So I will tell it to you. The story with the spinning wheel, this was back, so not as a life-saving, but it's actually probably one of the oldest items that we have in here. It dates from at least 1812, when Sweden and Norway were fighting with each other, and a lady was in her home in Norway, and a soldier came to her door that the enemy was after him, and could she help him? So she brought him into her house, and she had a trap door on her floor, so she opened it up. He went down there, and she put the spinning wheel over top to hide the trap door, and so she's working on the spinning wheel when the enemy came pounding on her door, and she's like, I don't see him, look around. And so they never found him, and she moved the spinning wheel and let the man up and on his way. So that's our, we always love our artifacts, but even better when they come with a good story. And here's our kind of little winter display. So we've got our sleigh here, our nice toasty warm beaver coat, and our horse blanket. And also around the corner here is what we're kind of guessing is the oldest artificial tree in Meeker County. It's from about 100 years old, and back in the day when artificial was probably just getting started, and probably not too many people kept their trees from the 20s. So just kind of a fun little trivia bit there. All right, and again, a little bit more of the agriculture, obviously a big part of the reason why people were settling the area. So we've got our little barn display that you can take a walk through and see all the different tools and everything that's in there. And now we're back at our blacksmith corner. We're at our gigantic blacksmith bellows and all of the different tools and different things that the blacksmith would have either made or helped repair. So we like to remind our third grade tours that you couldn't just go to Walmart or Amazon and buy your new tool. So if something broke, you'd often bring it to the blacksmith. They'd fix it up for you. And in our military cases here, we've got a little bit of a kind of a timeline. We've got a little mention of the Revolutionary War, War of 1812, and then Civil War, which obviously we talk more of that downstairs. And then quite a few different boxes here with different World War history and artifacts and uniforms. And continuing, we've got some World War II uniforms and things. A gentleman that was killed in action, we've got his Purple Heart and some different medals and as well. Some of the women, the waves, and some of their uniforms. And then kind of moving into Korea and Vietnam and ending with kind of Desert Storm in the 1990s. So we're standing in kind of our pharmacy and medical area now. So this was Peterson Pharmacy in Dassel. So we've got some of the jars and things. So today you go and the pharmacist and they have usually have your medicine ready for you. But it used to be that you had to have your pharmacist actually make the medicine for you. So all of the scales and measuring and different ingredients that would go into all of the medications and things. Also standing by our foot-powered dental drill, which does not sound like a good time, but you hoped your dentist had a fast foot as he was drilling, and probably not Novocaine, maybe he had a shot of whiskey or something for you instead. And talking about the nursing, we've got the first x-ray machine in the county. There was a nursing school as part of the hospital, and our eye doctor and all sorts of different medical things here as well. So yeah, we've got our kind of a little display of the hotels. And one thing that kind of surprises some people sometimes is there's actually signs that were on the restrooms in the hotel that marked white women and colored women. So often we think of segregation as just being in the South, but it was up here as well. So just kind of not a pleasant time of history, but definitely one that we don't want to skip over. So we've got a little sports history up here. People think history, it has to be 100 years old to be history, but definitely not the case. So we've got the 2003 state championship basketball hoop, and then also some older history as well. The old baseball mitts and the swimsuits and uniforms and the old ice skates and all kinds of fun sports stuff. So obviously, churches were a big part, socially and, obviously the religious aspect, but social obviously too was a big part. So we've got our little church display here, and then moving back into our kind of our one-room schoolhouse as well. So some of the desks and books and maps, and yeah, just kind of a unique time in with the one room schoolhouse with the one teacher in charge of her dozen or so students of all different ages and all of the different things that they would learn. So this is kind of a fun little corner. This is an example of the general stores that used to be kind of scattered throughout the countryside. So we've got the Jacobson store. So this model was actually made by the son of the Jacobsons. And this store, I think, was running until the 1960s. And also shadow box that the Jacobsons put together some of the items from the store. So just kind of fun to be able to not quite step inside, but still get a fun look of what the store used to be. And continuing with the general stores, we've got our fuller general store. Again, just, we've seen pictures of the actual stores, and those shelves were packed with anything and everything. So you kind of get a little idea of that glancing into this space.
Well, thank you so much for showing us the museum today. This place is great. There's so much military history here. I love the Dakota War and stuff. That's kind of my favorite area of Minnesota history. There's great stuff in here. When are you guys open? When can people come and check the place out?
Yeah, absolutely. We are open year round. We are open Tuesday through Friday from 10 to 4 and Saturday noon to 4.
Excellent. Do you have any big events or anything coming up?
Not any big events, but we do have a monthly Civil War roundtable that meets the second Thursday of every month at 1:30. So we've got different topics. There's so much on the Civil War, from battles to soldier life and U.S. Dakota War and just everything. So lots to talk about. So I think we're in like our 6th, 7th, 8th year. I don't even know.
Wow.
So it's been.
Do you have to be a member to come to these?
You do not need to be a member. There is a membership, but anybody can come as well.
Okay, excellent. Well, thank you very much. I encourage everybody to come out and take a look at the place. Until then, this is Brian signing off, and we'll see you next time. Thanks.